We make the rules, pal. The news, war, peace, famine, upheaval, the price of a paperclip. We pick that rabbit out of the hat while everybody sits out there wondering how the hell we did it. Alcohol, right?
Now, before we get to the film, just a quick little layout on some of the dynamics that was taking place in game one that kind of showed you that this was always going to be close. The Pacers in the first half uncharacteristically had 19 turnovers, 9 to be exact in each quarter. But at the end of the first, they were only down by 7 points. And in the second quarter, the Pacers shot even worse from the field. OKC at a point had 14 steals that only converted on 7 points. And we can't forget that their squad is a team. Their offense is held up by some of the points they get from their transition defense. The Pacers starters had most of the turnovers, which is real ironic. And this Thunder's defense throughout the season, they've been one of these teams that actually don't mind going small and utilizing their speed, having a lot of deflections on entry passes, and also in contesting shots on the closeout. So sporadically throughout the matchup, you've seen certain scenarios where a went into halftime, players got defensive boards, then they started dribbling up in the possession, then they'll instantly lose the ball. They weren't used to the speed, and it kind of took them a while to adjust, as in the second half, they only had 6 turnovers. And that's where you begin to see the head of the snake of the Oklahoma City Thunder's offense begin to cut off. Because without those turnovers and the transition points that come from it, that normally holds their offense up when they get into these stagnant possessions with SGA just going ISO without even passing the ball once in the whole possession. I mean, this was really mano a mano because both teams did a really good job in containing the other in transition, whether they turned the ball over or not. This was something that helped the Pacers get to the finals because going up against the Knicks, they contain a lot of the transition points, especially from guys like Josh Hart. But going into this matchup, everyone knew Oklahoma City's #1 defense was going to contain the Pacers in transition. Little did we know the Pacers was going to be the same exact way on the other end. That's how they kept this close. Once again, at a point, OKC had 14 steals, but only converted it for 7 points. Here's a perfect example right here. Pascal, he's going to try to gain an advantage on Case and Wallace. And this is something the Pacers love to do in transition. Get Pascal down the court fast, take advantage of some of this smaller defensive lineup right here. This is how they killed the Knicks. Watch after this turnover right here. Look at the Pacers players. They're going to get back, and they're going to form a wall right on SGA. Can't get anywhere. And they end up settling for a contested 3-point shot. Here's another example right here. Lou Dort with the strip. Look at the Pacers players getting back. This is how they contain the Knicks. You got SGA just settling for a jumper. And this is how the Pacers tend to beat teams down during the course of a game. They're just so relentless, especially within the last 2 minutes of these fourth quarters throughout the playoffs. They have killed teams like the Cavs, the Knicks, and the Milwaukee Bucks. And coming off this miss, this was rare right here, coming from the Pacers in transition, just to get this open shot. But you didn't see it too much in the first half. And within that transition defense, just them being in that small ball lineup, they're going to have to take some physical punishment as Pascal right here draws the foul. There's going to be a lot of mismatches that Pascal is going to draw up throughout this series. This is how they were able to maintain themselves when Tyrese wasn't as hot during the first half. Pascal is very slick. He reminds me of Dwayne Wade in a way. You never see him score 30, but then you look up in the box score, and all of a sudden, this guy has a ton of points. He's getting to the line. He's getting easy, very slick transition points. And quiet as kept, he's getting his team into the bonus. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Thunder manage kind of utilizing that defensive speed of the small ball lineup, but at the same time, matching up with Pascal just dominating their smaller players. Like how those minutes with Hartenstein and Chet is gonna be fluctuated throughout the course of this series. Here's a perfect example here. Check out Pascal off this miss from Chet. He's already out, but look who's right on his ass. Caruso, which has been a great pickup for the Thunder. Really, that kind of hurt them last year, not having that extra perimeter defender, really adding on to the amount of perimeter defenders they have, because just dealing with Kyrie and Luka kind of tired out some of their stars. I believe J-Dub had issues with maintaining his scoring while guarding Kyrie in last postseason, but Caruso right on it. But Pascal still draws a mismatch when they go small. And the Pacers, this is how they killed the Knicks in that last series. They kept dumping it to Pascal. He got easy layups on Josh Hart. He even dominated OG in transition with the layups. OG couldn't even contest him. This exact dynamic right here is something we're going to keep an eye on going the rest of the way. So now we're going to go to one of the most important part in this series, the role players. Make no mistake about it, with the Pacers, this is going to get real tricky, because even if their starters don't perform well, their role players will keep them in this. And we've seen it play out in Game 5 against the Knicks, where their bench unit scored 57 points when all their starters were completely in the negative when it comes to plus minus. But yet it took a major fourth quarter heroics from Karl-Anthony Towns to put them over the hump just to win that game. That's how impactful the Pacers bench has been throughout these playoffs. And just seeing the way the Oklahoma City Thunder defense loves to kind of collapse in the paint, because, as I said, they lead the league in closeouts and contesting three-point shots. So some of their defenders have no problem sagging off of certain guys. And this is where the Pacers role players, guys like Ben Shepherd, Obi Toppin, Naismith, TJ McConnell's going to get tested. They're going to leave him open for three. He's going to take a few. Matherin, Thomas Bryant came out of nowhere knocking down three-point shots in the closeout game against the Knicks. Walker, if he comes back off that ankle injury, he knocked down a few shots when Naismith went down going up against the Knicks, I believe, in that Game 4. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for their role players, because the way Oklahoma City loves to play, it's like an accordion. They're going to close in on any penetration, and then they're fast enough to close out on some of these shooters. And the Pacers had 9 different players in Game 1 that made a three-point shot versus Oklahoma City's 5. And that's what makes this series juicy. Forget all the small market talk. It's just the way these teams line up going up against each other. They're both deep, but OKC has a slight edge on the speed and defensive playmaking ability. But the Pacers counter that with the shooting from their role players, whether the shots be contested or not. Just look at Lou Dort in the first half, knocking down 5 threes, just to have Obi Toppin, who was kind of having a sloppy game, come back with 5 threes of his own. This is truly lining up to be a very interesting series. It almost reminds us, if we just go back from historical context, to the Detroit Pistons versus the San Antonio Spurs. I believe that was in 2005. It went to a Game 7, and things really came down to the wire. So it was really a game of inches. And again, the Pacers taking Game 1 should not come by a surprise. The Thunder did not have one quarter this whole game where they scored 30 points or more. And this includes the fact that in the first half, things played out into their hands, where the Pacers turned it over 19 times, and the Thunder love to get transition points. Just like a boxing match, there's going to be a lot of counters from game to game, but this fight is definitely lining up to be 12 rounds.